Hello everyone, this video is not sponsored. This is the Lumibricks Aurora Cabin set, which comes with 2,425 pieces. There are 4 minifigures we'll look at closer later on. There's actually, unfortunately, not a count of the number of printed pieces in this specific set. Usually they do give you a number, but there are 13 lights officially, including a projector of sorts built into the back of this sleigh. And we'll look at that carefully later on with the room lights turned off. The overall form factor here is similar to a standard 32 by 32 base plate, but as you can see, it extends further forward and it has the rounded fronts there. You also have some overlap to the back and to the sides. Right now, I'm powering this with a USB external little battery pack, as I usually do, just for my own personal convenience, but they do include a battery box that's integrated down into, well, not integrated, but slotted down into the base, into the terrain below, which this one actually takes AAA batteries. I much personally prefer the ones that take AA batteries, but yeah, here they've got the AAA holder, which takes 3 of those. One of the most striking things here for me is that I don't even need to turn down my studio lights for you to see the lights in this set and the impact that these lights have. They are strong, well, at least these ones on the outside are strong, but also appropriate. They give the right sort of ambiance, and most importantly, look inside the building, just through the windows. I'm not going to move the camera down low to that point. I'm just saying, just casually, as I move this around, without even having to set up the scene, without having to try to make this look as good as possible on camera, just casually, you can see the interior. You can see lit up features from the outside. And that's exactly what I like to see. And that's exactly what I want out of a set that has lights in it. It's honestly what I want out of any set that has details. I want to be able to see and appreciate those details inside and out without having to disassemble the whole thing. So that right there is already a definite big win with this set for me. I also personally appreciate the architecture here and kind of the hybrid between the old log cabin style. It's really a modern modern log cabin style, because it's got the larger window panes, the large doors. You know, probably you can imagine this is done with relatively new construction techniques and some relatively new materials and such, but it's got, you know, a little bit of rustic feel to it, more just for the feel than for authenticity. And that's great. I think that's what it's going for, and that's what it accomplishes. That's what I personally see here, including this nice little sunroom off to the side, which has plenty of lights. I like the colors that were used for this, a lot of the medium nougat, and then you get some just regular traditional, what we would call reddish brown, but then also for the ends of some of these logs that are sealed off, you know, they're varnished in their fresh cut form, are formed with, some of them are white to represent a little bit of snow that has accumulated, and then the rest of them are this light nougat color, which is unexpected. It's different, and I appreciate it, because I think that just adds a little something different, a little something extra, and I think it's brave, and I think that it's a good thing. Normally, I would just see tan always used for that, or even just regular brown, but I appreciate personally the little bit of extra saturation there, the little bit of extra color. I also kind of like how this tree was done, because it didn't take too long. It does have a nice shape to it. You can kind of shape the boughs a little bit. You can adjust, make it a little bit wider, rotate these around a little bit, maybe add a little bit more variety to it, but it doesn't use up a ton of pieces. Did not require me to spend a ton of time just sitting there, finicking with small pieces to build up that bulk. And I think it looks pretty good. What doesn't look good is the building around the back. Like, that is just so plain. Thankfully, this is, you know, the area that's not intended to be so camera friendly. It doesn't need to be so camera friendly. It's usually going to be facing away, but it just has the window and that's it. This whole entire panel does pop out. The roof segments also pop off to get you easier access to the interior. And of course, we'll look at that. But again, first, I wanted to just give you a good idea of the whole thing. And we'll look at this separately in its own little segment. Quick aside, though, Does anybody know what this is? If you do know for certain, 100% guaranteed confirmed, you know the facts of what this is, please look to see if someone else has already answered that in the comments below and give them a thumbs up. If literally nobody has said so, please feel free to be the first to call out exactly what this is, because I couldn't figure it out myself. To completely open this up, the roof segments just come right off. They're not attached with any studs. This one is very simple, simply slides off. But then this one is just a little bit more tricky because it does have this one extra flap over here. So I personally recommend just kind of straightening that out as you lift this off, and then you have enough clearance and it's really not an issue. You can also lift the roof over the sunroom over here just a little bit, but not a lot. You can pull this off, but it's not really intended to come off. But then again, it does have plenty of windows right here to be able to see the interior detail. And then all of this just pops right on off. So you see there was some interior facing detail with the bookcase with some random things on it, including, of course, books. And you've got a print down here. Several prints up on the wall as well, including this tapestry here, a picture of people in front of this exact structure, and the small flip calendar. And it is awkward, I will say it is awkward that this stays behind all of this, because, you know, it's kind of in your face. Sorry, but the focus there is kind of in your face, kind of gets in the way. So looking at the interior from above, just from a kind of a normal angle, this is a very similar. I mean, the camera right now is almost at my eye level, which is, you know, pretty appropriate. You can see the fireplace over here very nicely. You've got the nice mantle on top of it. Like that gives you good access. Nice tapestry down here, which is done with a pair of printed tiles that are printed together. But then when you come around to this corner, like it gets just a little bit cramped to see in there. That's the kitchen back over there, which has a good level of detail. I think it uses the space well, effectively, and also introduces some more prints. You know, I mean, you can recognize the objects, you can recognize the space. I think it's laid out in a way that makes enough sense. Again, more prints up there, and I think it also makes sense for the overall setting, you know, of a relatively remote cabin setup that's being used by a number of people who are not just a single family. You know, this is a lounge space here, so a combination lobby and common rest area. You got the large TV up there, big screen attached to the wall. I also wanted you to see over here, if we can get it to focus down below here, you can see that the fireplace is glowing. It has a nice slow glow. I think I personally would prefer that it did not go all the way out when it went to the low level there. I hope that in the future, Lumibricks will come up with some better or acquire some better, more appropriate special effect circuits for some of the specific types of things that they want to represent with light. But that one's not too bad. At least it's not just flashing. And that right there is the main checkout desk, check-in desk. Also, they've got some postcards up there, just small ones represented by ones. More prints, of course, and it's hard to see here. Well, it's impossible to see, but the register actually has a couple of prints as well. You got more detail in the back with the kind of another bookcase there with miscellaneous items on it. And through there, you can just see the nice little fire in the sunroom. At least I called it a sunroom. Is that not what it is? I think that's an appropriate term for it. Is it not? That's one of the best looking fires that I think I've seen depicted with just plastic pieces and a single light in anything, not just brick built, because of the colors specifically. For its size, the colors that were chosen here, not going too saturated. I don't know, just to me, I was especially impressed by the look of that. Upstairs, there's just a single bed and you've got a single light on the side. So this space, when the roof is on or the roof segments are on, is only illuminated directly by this single light right here. The rest of it, you get a little bit of ambient light that kind of diffuses up from down below, but because most of the light down here is below the level of this floor, you don't see much of that. And I think that's perfectly fine. It just makes it just a darker space that's that's appropriate enough. And I think this space is fine. I'm glad that it's not too cluttered. Part of me wishes that the banister was a little bit higher because it's definitely looking short, and you put a figure up there and it looks like they're gonna probably fall off. I wish that was just a little bit taller, a little bit more appropriate to the size of the figure. And I also wish that there were more studs, places where you could attach a figure's feet to the ground. That is completely missing. And now I can talk about something that I don't like about this entire set all throughout. It's something that we're seeing quite a bit right now in this space, and that is white wiring. White wires make sense for the outside if they were visible, but they're not. I guess there's one back here, which you come around the corner, because I didn't even really try to hide that away. I just left it at the intended distance. Like that's good for hiding that away so you don't see it. But everywhere else in this, the white wires stick out like sore thumbs, like really, really, really skinny sore thumbs everywhere they are. It's just way too obvious. I don't know why they chose that. It's just a bad choice. It's just simply a bad choice. And over here, like this wire here, having to go partially down the stairs, I tried to tuck it out of the way, but like that's just not a good look. And it's completely uncalled for. It's completely unnecessary. That all should have been black or brown. If it could have been brown, that would have been great. Even on the exterior here, like if that was brown, I think it would be better as well. And then you look through the window. These windows can actually be opened slightly if you want to suggest that there's even more ventilation here. So you can do that. But right there, you can see the light going to the fireplace is also white. There's one off to the side. That one's relatively hidden. But that's just a really strange and poor decision that takes away from the immersion quite a bit. Another thing that I want to call out here is something that you don't see at all. Unfortunately, this set had at least 2 places, I think it was possibly 3, where wires are actually pinched, which is something that Lumibricks has moved away from increasingly over time, as well they should. And they don't need to be pinching wires because they do have access to the parts to allow you to route wires wherever you need to. Now, I didn't feel that any of the spots where the wires were pinched were load bearing. You can actually see one of them right here. It's kind of obvious when you look at it right there. See, it's just a single tile on top. There's no load on top of this, but still it is absolutely pinched. So if you try to push this piece down all the way, it's starting to put some stress on the insulation of that wire. And that's just not a good thing. That's something that they should not be doing. It's something that they generally don't do. It's something that they've done less and less and less over time. But it's very odd to see a brand new set from them that does still have some very obvious pinches. And I really don't like that. I don't want to see it. It is not a good thing, especially for the average builder who might not have the greatest of manual dexterity or the most experience dealing with small scale wires. It's enough already to have to do all of the routing of wires that you have to pay extra attention to. That's completely beyond the normal skill set and expectation of building a brick-based set. Lumi does a very good job, but they need to not have those pinches, because each time there is a pinch, that's a potential point of failure during the assembly process. Failures are bad experiences for people. Beyond that, running the wires through this did not feel bad to me. I've had a couple times in recent times when I've called out wires being just a little bit too short, where I was able to make something work, but I really had to work hard to massage the pieces and get everything just right, perfectly assembled for it to fit. I did not have any of those problems here. This was perfectly comfortable for me to do the wiring itself, with the exception of those spots where I had to cringe. It almost caused me physical pain putting parts down with tiny, tiny, thin little wire in between. Unnecessary. Before I put the roof back on, here's what the set looks like, especially around the back with no lights in the room. I've turned off every single light, and I've tried to adjust the camera settings and what's done in post-production, in the editing phase, to make this look realistic, to make it look the way that it actually does to my eyes after I've had a couple minutes for them to adjust to this light. So my eyes are adjusted to this, not to a completely dark room. And I'm just trying to give you a good, realistic impression of the total amount of light here. And as you can see, it looks very good. I'm not sure if I feel completely comfortable doing it this way. This is a nice consistent way to do it with all lights turned off, but this might give you just a little bit of a slightly exaggerated impression of what it looks like because, again, this is based on my eyes adjusted to darkness. And I think on average, most of the time people are going to be seeing even a lighted set in a room that already has some lights on in it. And I don't know quite how to consistently simulate that. So for now, I'm just going with something that at least can have some consistency in its own way with no other lights on in the room. And then here's what it looks like with the roof reattached. So this is a complete house as you might see it when no other lights are on in your room. The edges and some of the seams do let some light bleed through. You can see that the blue lights outside do kind of dominate a bit. Maybe those could have been toned down slightly. Thankfully, it's much easier to reduce light by blocking it partially than to add more. But I do think that not looking at that, like that's nicely lit up there. It's not too much. It definitely doesn't look like a traditional log cabin. Again, it's definitely a modern setting. And I think that the lighting that's here is appropriate. The lighting inside is appropriate. It is too bad, especially just along the top here. Not sure if you can see that. It's gonna have trouble focusing back there, but there is a bit of light bleed along that top edge. Nothing to be seen around the side here, except for just a couple little spots where things came through. You just barely see this one little window up top. And then, this is a very, very dark side here. Like you barely see anything. And all the light starts to become apparent around the sides that are intended to be, displayed, which makes enough sense to me. And now for the big moment of truth. You're looking at the Sleigh, and this has a lighting feature built into it. I'll show you what's going on in full light, but this is the major thing that I was looking forward to seeing and testing here. It has this very interesting lighting system in it that was advertised as a type of projector. Even though it's so flat, it was advertised as a projector that would actually project an aurora onto your wall, because after all, this is the this is the Aurora Cabin, right? This is looking pretty bright. I mean, so far so good, yeah. Against a black backdrop, I'm definitely seeing an aurora effect back there. It's subtle, but it should be. It's looking pretty good. And with a white background, that is strong. I mean, there's so much illumination here right now that it is actually lighting up the entire room that I am in. And even when I bring in the light of the house, it's not detracting from this effect. Now, that is just a few inches away, approximately 3 inches away from the backdrop. So if I bring this closer towards me or towards us, obviously, it's going to broaden out the pattern, but it's still strong enough. That still looks good enough to me. It still looks appropriate. It still looks like what I would want to see to represent an aurora in the background. Now we're looking at about 9 inches there. Now I've moved it out to about 10 inches. See, it's still doing what it's supposed to do. And this is actually a reversible piece as well. Sorry, the background isn't 100% consistent there. I've just got to have perfectly flat white area. I've got a piece of foam board there, but this has 2 LEDs in it, right? One of them is blue, one of them is green. There's what it looks like without this piece, and I'll show you this in just a second, but it's actually reversible. I can turn it around and get a different pattern. Huh? Does that look even better? I think it does. I think it does look even better. And then if I rotate it around, like we get all these different possible shapes. Look at that. Look at that. This 100% is a successful product feature. However, the literal vehicle for that feature, this is just a thing that holds a couple of LEDs and this clear plate here. The rest of it could definitely use some work, because while the reindeer design, it's a brick built design. I don't like the little red bit there, but it's fine enough. Like the shaping of this is is good enough for a brick build. I do realize that one of the feet is technically upside down. Doesn't change anything to the structure or how it's built or anything. It's just the shape of the foot is slightly different on one. Could actually be used that way intentionally to make the feet look better when they're in an action pose. I like the little tail, but these, unfortunately, these parts, wow, yeah, they have like almost no friction. So this was... Getting it into a pose requires basically putting the things where you want and then putting the tubes back. This, yeah, even that tube, this one is the one that had the most friction down here. Out of all of them, it's just these tubes are just too small. And also, they don't really like to hold their shape, so you need to bend them into a certain shape to get it to work. And before you bend it, the reindeer will always be doing a wheelie. It'll always be up in the air like this because these don't have the ability to adjust. Can't adjust the angle up and down. And also this is very fragile right here. So while you're doing that with these connected in there, this is always going to be popping off and falling. And it's just a little bit frustrating, a little bit disappointing for an otherwise very excellent feature as far as how it works and what it actually does. And again, this just 2 LEDs, just basic LEDs just sitting there. And then this is a nice little specially molded part that's done well. Comes with, if you do get this set, be sure to take the protecting film off of it so that you get maximum effect. And you can just see how it refracts light through it. I mean, even from here, you can see exactly how it's working. And this is well designed, well chosen. I'm assuming that this was already designed for, some Aurora projector and they're just reusing it. If they did actually make it custom just for this set, hats off to the team, because that's a whole other set of disciplines that are needed to get that right. And I don't even know what type of material it is. It's fairly sharp around the edges. It's good though. Very, very clear, very good clarity. So this is intended to use a double large watch battery pack on the base, which is what you see right here. It uses two 2032 batteries. I'm not powering it by that right now, but thankfully I can do just that. I can power it from a USB stick because they do actually include this piece right here, which is something that they've left out, they've missed on so many sets to date that have these separate vehicles that require the small little battery pack. They've missed the option to let you hook up just regular power. This set includes it, and I want to call that out because that is directly in response to our feedback. I'm definitely not the only person who has called out that they need to do this. They need to include the parts. And they've done it here. They've included both the plug, the USB-A plug, and the female-to-female connector, the adapter, to allow the connection right here. So kudos once again to Lumibricks for listening and trying to make their products better. Always, every single time, every single new product release. They don't always get everything right, but they are absolutely trying. And I'm going to keep calling out things that I don't like. I'm going to keep calling out things that I do like and things that they change, because that is admirable. This is kind of cool. There are yellow cherries in there, by the way. But the hat in the instructions, the hat was attached over here. I think it was a different shape of hat that they were trying to show in there, and kind of feels like they didn't fully test the build of this because the hat just won't fit over there in that spot. Also, the same thing with these, right? I'm starting to wonder just how much building they do with production pieces. They might have their own selection of parts that might be a little bit older, and I feel like they need to kind of refresh their internal pieces that they use, that the designers use for testing, physical testing of their builds, because a few things are slipping through the cracks. The minifigs exist. Some people like them, some people don't like them, some people used to dislike them and have since grown warmer to them. They cannot be designed like this because that would be a trademark infringement. They have to be different, but Lumibricks has acknowledged that a lot of people don't like them for various reasons, and they have stated publicly that they are changing the design. So we'll just have to see what the new design will be. Doesn't sound like they're changing everything completely, but we'll just have to see. I have no idea how that's going to turn out. I know a lot of people have complained that the arms are impossible to attach or the hands are too difficult to attach. I personally have never had a problem with them. I've never had issues with their durability or alignment, other than when I got the the directions of the feet a little bit wrong in one of my earliest videos of products from the company because I didn't realize that they were directional. There actually is a left and a right there. It's very, very subtle. But otherwise, quality is okay. It's an interesting choice to go with fully golden hair here. I guess it's kind of a collectible piece. Their heads and headgear pieces are compatible with other brands, including the Danish brand if you want to use the parts. But, again, the figure stuff just is what it is. For people who don't like their figures, just don't worry about it. Get whatever figures you want. If you like the set, don't let these hold you back. If you do want to buy it, please do consider using one of my affiliate links in the video description because I can get a small commission that ultimately just adds up and I invest right back into the channel into buying more sets because, again, unless very explicitly stated otherwise, including having the thing that's required by all platforms that is part of the UI, it's actually going to show up on your app or on your player saying paid promotion. I will use that because it's required by the terms of service and everyone is supposed to use that when they are sponsored. Most people don't, which is a big problem, but I will always let you know and I will always do what I'm supposed to do if I do receive something from a manufacturer or a vendor. But otherwise, I'm buying all of these things like 99% of the time, probably more than 99% of the time. As clearly stated, I'm buying this stuff and I'm happy to do that. But I appreciate the support of folks who use affiliate links because with Lumibricks, at least you are guaranteeing yourself a 10% discount if you use my link. If there's not already a greater discount available for something. However, please don't buy something if you don't want it. Don't let me influence you into buying something that you're on the fence about or that you question or that you don't feel good about. I'm just here to show you, to the best of my ability, what the thing looks like and tell you my thoughts about it, based on the build experience and my own personal experiences in the hobby and with both product development and as a consumer. So hopefully I've done that here as well. Again, this is 2,425 pieces and costs, the retail price is $120. Use some kind of discount. You've got to get it for at least 10% off because there are 10% off offers all over the place, both Lumibricks.com, Amazon. You might be able to find it some other places as well at a reasonable price with shipping. Always be sure to check out shipping. And overall, the experience here is good, but it does still have some quirks. The white wires is just so weird, and the pinched wires definitely bugs me. I don't like that. And these tubes here, that's a GoBricks problem. GoBricks is the supplier of the pieces, but Lumibricks designers need to check with that stuff and see if the parts that they're getting are actually going to work, current parts. And it's a difficult thing to do with as fast as they're working, as limber and light and agile as they are. They're, putting out so much, just trying to focus on getting the design right and then get it out to us, and having to regularly sample pieces from the factory, add that into the process adds a lot. I get it, but they do need to do that. It is part of their responsibility, especially as they continue to grow and do more. But definitely we've got some really good things going on with this. Better than expected with the Aurora projector. Thank goodness that works. Not even good enough. Not even good enough. It goes above and beyond with the amount of light that it puts out and the shape of lights that it projects onto a wall within a reasonable distance. Also, now including the adapter over here, the additional USB-A adapter for that based on our feedback directly. This is a lot of positive movement. They didn't go too crazy with the lettering. They haven't put too much writing on this. The writing itself is appropriate enough in its styling. Hopefully they'll continue to learn and get better with styling for prints that have type on them, that have actual words on them, because the rest of the stuff they do is pretty darn good, and they generally capture a scene well. They generally respect the setting, and I think they've done that here for the most part. Once again, thank you very much for watching. Thank you for folks who click on those affiliate links. It has helped me out a lot. I've been able to review a lot more things because of your support, but also thank you to the channel members, Patreon supporters, and Twitch subscribers. Bye for now.